do hurry.
Charlotte!
Oh, Charlotte!
Oh, Charlotte, I am glad you're come. We've had such fun here today.
Oh?
Whatever do you think has happened?
Can you not guess? We've never laughed so much.
Mr. Collins has made an offer to Lizzie and she will not have him.
Indeed.
And Jane is crying because Mr. Bingley and his party have removed to London and never even called to say goodbye.
And Mamma will not speak to Lizzie and Papa will not speak to any of us.
I think it would be best, in all the circumstances, that I should visit on another day. When my brother left us yesterday, he imagined that the business which took him to London might be concluded in 3 or 4 days. But we are convinced that when Charles gets to town, he will be in no hurry to leave it again. It is evident by this that Mr. Bingley does not return to Netherfield.
Of course he will return. No one that has seen you together could doubt his affection.
But you do not know all. I will read you the passage which particularly hurts me. Mr. Darcy is impatient to see his sister, and to confess the truth, we are scarcely less eager to meet her again. I really do not think Georgina Darcy has her equal for beauty, elegance, and accomplishments. And the affection in us is increased by the hope that she may soon become my brother's wife.
It is only evident from this that Miss Bingley hopes to persuade you that her brother is not in love with you. We are not rich enough or grand enough for her. Besides, she is anxious to get Miss Darcy for her brother, in the hope that one intermarriage between the families will advance a second, her own, to Mr. Darcy.
Can this be so? I cannot believe it.
I begin to be almost sorry for Mr. Darcy.
What a pleasant walk this is. When I inherit this estate, I shall, of course, attend to its cultivation myself.
Gardening is a very healthful exercise. I shall encourage it as much as possible.
Those trees will have to come down. They barbarize the landscape.
A pair of urns would do quite well instead. I favour a small Gothic ruin.
Or perhaps a temple, dedicated to Aphrodite, whose spell has been cast upon these 2 young persons.
Engaged to Mr. Collins? Impossible. Good Lord, Sir William, how can you tell such a story?
Do not you know that Mr. Collins wants to marry Lizzie? Only 3 days ago he made her an offer in this very room, and he was broken-hearted by her refusal. They will end in 3 weeks. Charlotte will be mistress of Longbourn. Oh!
Hush, my dear, I'm not dead yet.
5 or 10 years more.
Courage, my dear, do not give way to such gloomy thoughts. There's always the hope that I may survive them. Sir William, Mr. Collins, may I offer you my congratulations. And you, Miss Lucas, the utmost felicity in your great good fortune. Hey, Lizzie?
I can see what you're feeling. You must be surprised, very much surprised. But I hope when you've had time to think it over, you will be satisfied with what I have done. I am not romantic. You know, I never was. I ask only a comfortable home. I may never get another offer.
Oh, Charlotte. Well, at least she won't die an old maid, as 1 or 2 people not 100 miles from here are likely to do.
She's right, Mr. Bennet. My little Lydia has more sense in her head than everyone here put together. I am the only one with grace to acknowledge it. No, listen. To think that she might have been Mr. Collins' wife today, had it not been for her own perverseness.
It gratifies me, my dear, to find that Charlotte Lucas, whom I used to think tolerably sensible, is almost as foolish as you are yourself.
Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, how kind of you to grace my humble nuptials with your presences. As my patroness, the Right Honourable Lady Catherine de Bourgh, has condescendingly said on many occasions, the ties of blood are second only to those of rank.
I do. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Gardner, how extremely good of you to come, and all the way from London.
We wish you every kind of happiness.
And joy in your new home.
Dear Jane. Dearest Eliza, I shall depend on hearing from you very often.
That you certainly shall.
And I have another favor to ask you. Will you come and see me? My father's promised to visit me. Why do you not come with him? Of course I will.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Mrs. Collins, loath as I am to tear you from the embraces of my fair cousin Eliza, I have to inform you that the carriage awaits.
I'm coming. Dearest Eliza, you promised to come.
Sister, to think that I should be forced to make way for Charlotte and live to see her take my place.
Oh, come upstairs, ma'am. You will feel better after a rest.
Aunt Gardner.
Yes, Lizzie, and that.
We can see whether Colonel Forster is
Have a moment.
I must confide in you, as I'm never able to confide in my mother.
Why, Lizzie, what is it?
I feel the greatest anxiety about Jane. She has heard from Miss Bingley they are not to return to Netherfield this season.
Oh, poor Jane.
Day and night she thinks of nothing but Mr. Bingley.
I'm so sorry for her. Oh, it had better have happened to you, Lizzie. You would have laughed yourself out of it sooner.
You are right, dear aunt. I would have laughed or died.
Do you think Jane could be prevailed upon to come back to London with us? A change of scene might be of service, and perhaps a little relief from home would be as useful as anything.
Dearest aunt, you are always our best physician.
But what of this young man? What if he comes to call on her?
That is quite impossible, for he is in the custody of his friend and never stirs without him. Mr. Darcy may have heard of Gracechurch Street, but he would never suffer Mr. Bingley to call on Jane in such a part of London.
So much the better. I hope they will not meet at all. But does not Jane correspond with his sister? She cannot help but come.
If I know Caroline Bingley, she will drop the acquaintance entirely.
Nothing could make me happier, my dear friend, than to see you while I am in London, and to return to that state of intimacy which existed between us in Hertfordshire. I shall be staying with my aunt and uncle Gardner at their home in Gracechurch Street.
Gracechurch Street? Where in the world is Gracechurch Street?
A long way from Grosvenor Square, Louisa. Will you call on her? Certainly not. Miss Bennet may have amused us in Hertfordshire, where the society is vapid and there is nothing to do. But in London, I certainly do not intend to waste my time calling on a provincial nobody.
Enter my humble portals. Enter, so to speak, these courts with praise. You are welcome to my humble but commodious abode. Observe the fine proportions of this room. This spinet was presented by my patroness. It is, of course, an antique, dating back to the year 1720, and I think you'll agree with me that the tone is really quite celestial. Observe the Sèvres plate, Sir William. A remarkable collection, and quite a bargain at 50 shillings. 50? Mm-hmm. That is an early example of common Wedgwood, but nevertheless of considerable value. Now, here we have this delightful little work table, which, together with the exquisite Boule casket, is in every way equal to my dear Charlotte's requirements. All this could have been yours, Miss Eliza, had you but chosen.
Oh, most commodious. Very commodious.
It's comfortable enough.
Pray step this way. Sir William, Miss Elizabeth. Across the meadow, beyond that cedar bough, do you observe a noble edifice?
I do indeed, sir. Very fine, very fine.
That is Rosings. That is the home of my patroness, the Right Honourable Lady Catherine de Bourgh. The glazing alone cost the late Sir Lewis de Bourgh over £1,000.
Lady Catherine is a very respectable, sensible woman, and a most attentive neighbour.
So attentive is she, so full of affability and condescension, that she has bidden us to dine with her at Rosings this evening. Moreover, you, Sir William, and you, my fair cousin, are included in the invitation.
Do you play and sing, Miss Bennet?
A little.
Oh, then sometime or other we shall be happy to hear you. Mr. Berg would have been the most delightful performer, had her health ever permitted her to learn. Do your sisters play and sing?
One of them does.
Why did you not all learn? The Miss Webbs all play, and their father has not so good an income as yours. Do you draw?
No, not at all.
What? None of you?
Not one.
How very strange. Your mother should have taken you to town every spring for the benefit of the master.
My mother would have had no objection, but my father hates London.
Has your governess left you?
We never had a governess.
No governess? Then who taught you? Your mother must have been quite a slave to your education.
Indeed, ma'am, I can assure you that was not the case.
Oh. Why did you not order us out, Miss Bennet?
Yes, ma'am, all of them.
What? All four at once? Mr. Berg is not out? The younger one's out before the elder are married. Very odd.
Really, ma'am, I think it will be very hard on younger sisters that they should not have their share of amusement in society, because the elder may not have the means nor the inclination to marry early.
Well, upon my word, you give your views very confidently for one so young. Pray, what is your age?
With two younger sisters out, your ladyship can hardly expect me to own it.
You cannot be more than 20, I'm sure. Therefore, you need not conceal your age.
I am not 21.
Mr. Darcy and Colonel Fitzwilliam.
Come in, Darcy. Come in.
Good evening, ma'am. Cousin Anne, good evening. It is extremely kind of you to receive us so late, ma'am.
Oh, delighted.
The roads are most treacherous after the rain.
Nephew Fitzwilliam, the uniform becomes you well. Sit down, both of you, and tell me the news.
You have guests, ma'am.
Do not trouble yourself on their account, nephew. The country provides but poor society at this time of the year. Where is your regiment now, Fitzwilliam?
At Northampton, ma'am.
Oh.
Good evening, madam. Sir William. It is an unexpected pleasure to find you at Rosings, Miss Elizabeth.
The name is Collins, sir. William Collins. I had the honour of making your acquaintance 11 weeks ago last Tuesday at Netherfield Park. I am the incumbent of this parish. Lady Catherine de Bourgh is my patroness, and any nephew of Lady Catherine's, as I know you to be, sir, is worthy of the utmost deference from Mrs. Collins and myself.
Do you intend to stay long at Hunsford, Miss Elizabeth?
5 or 6 weeks. Possibly longer, if Mrs. Collins can bear with me.
Mrs. Collins would be foolish to let you go.
I shall keep her here as long as I am able.
Darcy, what do you say? Are you acquainted with Miss Bennet? Are you sure of it?
I am, ma'am.
Then come and sit by me and tell me the news of London.
Miss Elizabeth, forgive me, I will be back.
Tell me, Darcy, is His Majesty's health at all improved? The symptoms as described to me put me in mind of the illness of the late Sir Pelham de Bourgh. I can recommend the most eminent physician.
And how do you like Kent, Miss Bennet?
I like it very much.
Sir, you talk of Kent. I have always considered that of all the counties in England, Kent deserves, nay, wears the crown. And the brightest jewel in that crown is, of course, your revered aunt and my patroness, Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
Admirable sentiment, dutifully
A
expressed.
most obliging young man, have you? What were you saying, Darcy?
But do you not feel the lack of society, of the amusement which London provides?
As I have never lived in London, sir, I cannot tell. I do not miss that which I have never enjoyed.
But do you not wish to see the theatre? To hear music from time to time?
Oh, the theatre I would dearly love to see more often. I have a lively interest in that respect. Of music we have plenty in Hertfordshire.
And whose music do you prefer?
Oh, well...
Fitzwilliam, what are you telling Miss Bennet? Let me hear it.
We're speaking of music, ma'am.
Oh, of music. Then pray speak aloud. It is of all subjects my delight. I must share in the conversation if you are talking of music. There are few people in England, I suppose, who have a more true enjoyment of music than myself. If I had ever learned, I should have been most proficient. What do you say,
Miss Bennet, why do you not play for us? It would be a pleasure to hear you.
I would not like to interrupt Lady Catherine.
There is but little danger of that.
Fitzwilliam, what is that you are saying?
Oh, I'm trying to persuade Miss Bennet to sing for us, ma'am.
Let her sing, then, if she must. I would advise the King of Sardinia to march straight into Savoy.
There is a fine old saying, Colonel Fitzwilliam, which of course everybody here is familiar with. Keep your breath to cool your porridge. Well, I shall keep mine to swell my song. Oh, ponder well, be not severe, so savor it.
Will you not join Mr. Berg in a game of quadrille or casino?
I should be honored.
My dear, depends for Polly's life. You mean to frighten me, Mr. Darcy, by coming in all this state to hear me. But I will not be alarmed, though your sister does play so well. There is a stubbornness about me that never can bear to be frightened at the will of others. My courage rises with every attempt to intimidate me.
I shall not say that you are mistaken, because you could not really believe that I entertain any design of alarming you. And I've had the pleasure of your acquaintance long enough to know that you find great enjoyment in occasionally professing opinions which are, in fact, not your own.
Cease your fanning,
What is happening over there? Darcy, I insist on knowing what you are talking about.
Miss Bennet's song speaks for itself.
Miss Bennet would not play at all amiss if she practiced more and had the advantage of a London master. She has a good notion of fingering, but her taste is not so good as Anne's.
I find Miss Bennet's performance delightful, ma'am. I could listen to her all evening.
You certainly leave Kent on Saturday.
Yes, if Darcy does not put it off again. But I'm at his disposal. He arranges the business just as he pleases.
I don't think I know anybody who seems more to enjoy the power of doing what he likes than Mr. Darcy. Do you know Mr. Bingley?
Oh, yes. A very pleasant, gentleman-like man. I really believe Darcy does take care of him.
What do you mean?
Well, from something he told me on our journey down here, Darcy congratulated himself on having lately saved his friend from the inconvenience of a most imprudent marriage.
Did he give you reasons for this interference?
I understand there are very strong objections to the lady's family.
Indeed. And did your cousin tell you what they were?
He did not. Forgive me, Miss Bennet. I feel I have spoken out of turn. It were better that I had not mentioned the matter in the first place. Will we have the honor of your presence this evening at Rosings?
I'm not sure. I have a slight headache. Thank you for your company and your information. Mr. Darcy, does Mrs. Collins know you are here?
No. Pray do not call her. I came to see you. In vain have I struggled. It will not do. My feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I love and admire you. I've come to offer myself to you against the dictates of my will and reason. Against my will, which has struggled with all its might to overcome so unsuitable an affection. Against my reason, which finds the prospect of an alliance so totally lacking in connections repugnant in the extreme. Passion, however, has overthrown the rational elements, and it is according to the dictates of passion that I come to ask for your hand in marriage.
If I could feel gratitude for what you have just said, sir, I would now thank you, but I cannot. I have never desired your good opinion, and you have certainly bestowed it most unwillingly. The feelings which you tell me have long prevented your proposal can have little difficulty in overcoming my refusal.
And this is all the reply which I am to have the honor of expecting? I might perhaps wish to be informed why I am thus rejected, but it is of small importance.
I might as well inquire why you chose to tell me that you liked me against your will, against your reason. Had not my own feelings decided against you, do you think that any consideration would tempt me to accept the man who has been the means of ruining, perhaps forever, the happiness of a most beloved sister?
I have no wish to deny that I did everything in my power to separate my friend from your sister. Towards him I have been kinder than towards myself.
It is not merely this affair on which my dislike is founded. Your character was unfolded in the recital which I received many months ago from Mr. Wickham.
You take an eager interest in that gentleman's concerns.
Anyone who knows what his misfortunes have been could not help feeling for him.
His misfortunes? Yes, his misfortunes have been great indeed.
You have reduced him to his present state of poverty. You have deprived the best years of his life of that independence which was his due, and yet you can treat the mention of his misfortunes with contempt and ridicule? Oh.
And this is your opinion of me? This is the estimation in which you hold me? I thank you for explaining it so fully. But perhaps these offenses might have been overlooked, had not your pride been hurt by my honest confession of my scruples. You expect me to rejoice in the inferiority of your connections, to congratulate myself on the hope of relations whose conditions in life are so decidedly beneath my own?
You are mistaken, sir, if you suppose that the mode of your declaration affected me. You could not have made me the offer of your hand in any possible way that would have tempted me to accept it. I had not known you a month before I felt that you were the last man in the world that I could ever be prevailed on to marry.
You have said quite enough, madam. I perfectly comprehend your feelings, and have now only to be ashamed of what my own have been. Forgive me for having taken up so much of your time, and accept my best wishes for your health and happiness.